Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I Am Patience. And in today's video we are going to be talking about, is college worth it? This is a topic that a lot of people struggle with, especially with the rising cost of college. The average college now is gonna run you for 4 years over $50,000. Now you also have not just the cost of the actual tuition, but fees, room and board. And a lot of people have to take out student loans in order to be able to afford to go to school. And so with all that, it is no surprise that we will start to question, is college worth it? Is a college degree worth it? Is the time, the money, energy that you spend on it, is it worth it? Do you reap more in the future from that? Is it a good investment versus not going to college? Now, we know that college is not a necessity in order to be successful, but it's still worth noting that somebody who has a bachelor's degree would earn approximately, on average, $900,000 more in their lifetime than somebody who does not. And somebody with a postgraduate degree earns on average over $1 million. I guess more like 1.5 million in their lifetime versus somebody who only has a high school diploma. This is not just true for average regular people. Most millionaires and billionaires are college educated, and I did a whole video on billionaires and education because there was somebody talking about like 80% of billionaires don't have college degrees. Not true at all. It was a very small percentage of billionaires who had no form of college education. In fact, those who did not have a bachelor's degree or any type of degree had some college experience, you just didn't complete it. But most millionaires and billionaires who went to school, over 80% actually have at minimum, a bachelor's degree. So that theory is out of this conversation. It's like, it's not real. But still, is college worth it? So let's discuss it. But before we do, remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let's get straight into it. Is college worth it? So when we begin to have this conversation, one of the most important things that should always be at the forefront is what you want to do. What are you looking to get into? Maybe you're in high school now, or maybe you took a break, a gap year or two or several years, or maybe you just didn't want to go to college first, but now you're thinking about it. What do you want to do? This will determine if college is necessary for your career field, or maybe it's an add-on versus unnecessary. For example, if I wanted to go into cosmetology, I don't need to get a bachelor's degree. You can go to cosmetology school, but there could be a point, let's say if I wanted to go into the business of cosmetics or even self-care and beauty products, a business degree might help. Maybe I first need to do cosmetology school, and then once I'm successful and I have clients, then I can more so go towards a bachelor's degree. That's an example of something that could be an add-on in order for something bigger beyond, just having clients. You want to go into the actual business of it. The next section would be one that you could do without, but it's helpful if you do. For example, computer science, software engineering. You don't need a bachelor's degree in computer science or software engineering in order to be a software engineer. A lot of people may go to, boot camps, coding camps, or learn coding on their own and they become a software engineer. But a lot of times when you actually go to school for it and you have a bachelor's degree in it, you're able to move up in the company towards more managerial roles. You're able to go towards director roles if it's time for CEO. And also when you have a bachelor's degree, it makes it easier to get your foot in, because when you're in college, they're recruiting, you can do internships, get that experience, hire you as a new hire, and they train you in that to become a software engineer. So just a little bit more leniency, I'll say, and a more direct path into it versus me learning to code on my own, have no bachelor's degree, and I just want to do it because I went to boot camp. It makes it slightly harder. And then there are the fields, of course, that it's imperative that you get a professional education, being a doctor, a dentist, anything in the medical field, you have to be trained in it. I don't think there's anywhere around it. You have to be certified, you have to take your exams, your boards and everything. Nobody wants to go to a doctor who didn't go to medical school. Even if you've been trained and your parents were a doctor and you've done traditional medicine, it doesn't matter. Most of us want doctors who have gone to medical school, who did a bachelor's degree, went to medical school, did residency, got all that training. They're professionally trained. Being a lawyer is like that. I know there is some way around it, but that's a very small percentage. But most lawyers have gone to law school and passed their bar exam and are admitted into the bar in order to practice law. Now, you don't need to go to law school in order to do that, but it's more of the conventional route versus the non-conventional, which is a path less taking. I think a lot of people would want to make sure their lawyer went to law school, but that's some, there's always the Suits route. If you watch the show Suits, you probably know what I'm talking about. So there are several careers that fall into this category. So you want to make sure that you know where you're going, what you want to major in, and ask yourself these important questions. And engineering is very important to have a degree. Most engineers have degrees. It's an easier path to get into. I'm sure there are ways around it. Better when you come from a place where you don't have any connections. Like I didn't have any connections with engineers. I didn't have family in the engineering field who can get me in nepotized. So when you are on your own and you're doing a lot of these things on your own, it's easier just to have education to get you in. I was able to go to college, do internships, and have all these different experiences. That's how I was able to get into the job market as an engineer. So the field that you go into really matters. When you have that conversation, now the next point would be, what level of education do you need? For doctors, they not only go to get their bachelor's degree, but then they also go to medical school. That's a graduate level education versus a lot of nurses. They can be CRN nurse, they get like an associate, and then a registered nurse when they get a bachelor's. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. I'm gently pursuing my master's degree at the moment, but it's not necessary in order to be an engineer or for me to have a successful career, I would say. It's just something that really helps you stand out. There could be an aspect of when you need a PhD, people who become researchers, PhD doctors, if they want to become professors. What level of education do you need? An associate's or high school? We can start with a high school diploma, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, master's, PhD, some other type of postgraduate. What do you need in order to be successful in your field? Because you may not want to go overboard with it. If you can start with a bachelor's like I did, I could have stayed in school and just done one more year of master's. And it was something I certainly thought about when I was closer to the graduation time. However, being able to start my career early, get experience, and get into the field, realize what do I want to do? That was very helpful versus me just going straight in, because I don't think if I had stayed in college one more year, I'd have done the major that I'm doing right now, which is engineering management. I'd have probably just doubled down on electrical engineering. But now that I'm able to get my experience and then went back to school a year later, I'm so glad I waited, because it was definitely worth it. Being able to go in with a degree that I think would be more beneficial for where I want my career to go is helpful. And the next one is, a lot of people get sensitive about this, which is that, do you need to attend a certain type of college in order to achieve this? And that includes prestige. What level of prestige does the university have to have, or the college have to have, in order for you to be successful? For most career fields, not a lot. But when I was watching Suits, going back to that show, I realized that, for example, there's some law firms that only hire from certain Ivy League schools. Now, whether you think it's right or wrong, if it's a form of discrimination or not, a lot of them do it. And that's why when you go into Wall Street, you see that a lot of people there come from the exact same universities. And you see that a lot of alums go back to their universities in order to hire. The level of attraction your university sometimes gets is based on the alums and what they're doing, what companies they work in. And so that's very much something to consider. At Howard University, the alum associations and our career fairs were big. I know people who used to come to Howard's job fairs and they didn't even attend Howard University because their schools didn't have the job fairs to the magnitude that we did. And so that's definitely something to consider, because your school's career center is able to network and help you to at least get in front of these companies. Now, there's no guarantee, but at least there. And I realized this especially back when I was in high school. I did dual enrollment, meaning I took college classes at my local community college while I was still in high school. And previously, I had attended a job fair from them. And I was like, what is this? This is a job fair? Because a lot of the selection were not big companies. Like, we didn't have the FANG companies, we didn't have these big tech companies come to that community college to recruit. So you lose out a little bit on that, because sometimes you get those interviews or initial interviews and suggestions and networking from those job fairs. Going to that versus a year later going to Howard University's career fair, I was blown away. I was like, wow, like, this is a lot. Just professionally, you're meeting people from these big companies. So many companies from the top Fortune 500 companies come there. It's not just Howard, of course. There's a lot of other big schools that do that. And so every school is different. Now, again, I'm sure you can still get a lot of access and there's still ways to apply online. I'm just saying it could be a little bit more of a hurdle versus just having them at your disposal, being able to talk to somebody who works there, who can help you and recruit you into their interviewing process. There's also an aspect of if you need a postgraduate degree, for example. So a lot of people may get their bachelor's degree at a school that nobody really heard of, or just, a local college or state college, should I say. And then when you're going for their medical degree or their law degree, they try to go for a bigger school because that's the last degree they have, and that carries a bigger name. So I've seen several people do that. Now, whilst Howard University is like the most popular HBCU, here the school I go to is like they call it the Harvard in Dallas. It's one of the top schools in Texas. One of the reasons why I went for the school is because I wanted to be able to go in person versus working a full-time job and taking online classes. Like, I feel like that in-person aspect is wonderful. Certainly did consider that when I was picking a school, to go to a bigger private school versus go to smaller public school. Now, what it would do for my career, I don't know if it would like astronomically that much, but I definitely did consider it. So what type of school do you feel like you need to go into? And just don't say that, oh, I'm going to this school because, that's where everybody says go. Like, talk about the value. What value do you get out of it? If you're going for a degree that pays not so great. Let's take an example, early childhood development type of degree. Now, I think the median income for that is like around $30,000, $40,000. Now, you have to ask yourself, what type of gain would I get from going to a public school versus a private school that costs 3-4 times as much? Will it expose me to more jobs that say pay more, and how much more, versus going to a cheaper school where I'm going to save money and I'm going to be making a low income? So I think that's something that you should definitely consider, because it's not worth it to go to a school that costs, let's say, $70,000 a year for a degree that at best, like the median or upper end is maybe giving you like $40,000, $50,000 a year, while you have all these student loans to pay. Some people may want to go to community college first and then transfer, and that could be a good thing. I didn't do that because I found that transferring engineering credits is a lot. So instead, I aimed for a 4-year university. So it could be like, do you want to go to community college first and then transfer, or do you just want to go straight into a 4-year university? I certainly felt like I benefited from going directly to a 4-year, because the average student that goes directly to a 4-year university graduates within 55 months versus somebody who goes to community college first and then transfers. It takes them on average over 70 months. So that's certainly a lot of time that I saved, and money too, by directly going to a 4-year university. And speaking of savings and the salary in the field, what is the growth potential and the competition in the field? Using that as what you expect the return on it to be. For example, if you're going to be an electrician, it doesn't take any type of formal higher education, but you can go to electrician school or trade school, and there's probably a lot of job openings for electricians. Like, it's one of those fields that is booming. Now, if you want to go into something like software engineering that is very saturated, the competition is high because you don't really need a degree, but a lot of people do have a degree, so they are sometimes getting an upper hand if they have the exact same skill level that you do, but then with a degree. So the competition is high, and you have to ask yourself, is the field growing? How long is it growing? And when I graduate from school, if you're taking 4 years, 6 years, or 8 years, if you need more education, what would it look like when I graduate? When you start having a conversation about how much you can expect and being able to manage your expectation, the growth within the field over your lifetime, and it's if you plan to stay there for, let's say, 5, 10, 15 years, what would it look like then? Would it still be a booming field, or would you have to pivot? When you're able to think that way, it would bring up the conversation about if college is worth it and if the degree that you're getting your education in is worth it. And another way it could be worth it is the length of the career. Some careers are not that long. People get burnt out quickly and they leave. And that could be in certain job fields where people just stay a long time, and then others that people go in and then they quit. I've seen people in corporate law, for example, quit like at 35, 40, because they can't take it anymore. Or some people who go into the medical field, like a lot of nurses who got burnt out, or even some doctors who are getting burnt out as well. So what type of length of career are you expecting? For engineering, for example, most people have a very long career in engineering, 40 plus years careers. And so for me, it gives me hope to know that engineering is vital for our society. It is one of those fields that's ever growing, and we're always going to need more engineers. Gymnast, for example, is one that is kind of expensive to go into, but the career is short. Most gymnasts, I'm pretty sure, retire by the age of 30. Just don't have like 40 plus years careers as a gymnast. I mean, now of course you can go into opening your own gym and training other gymnasts. They're going to go into the next part, which is about pivoting. But you yourself as a gymnast for 40 years, that's not something that is optimal or that's realistic for the average person versus the field like doctors. The average doctor is a doctor for over 30 years. But then when I was talking about gymnasts, I was talking about pivoting, which is the next question to ask yourself is, are you going to pivot, or do you want to pivot, or is this a career that you want to stay in, and if you never pivot, are you going to be okay with that? I think I kind of pivoted in my career field. I mean, for my degree, I'm still in engineering, and I still use aspects of electrical engineering, but I'm not working full on as an electrical engineer. I just use aspects of it. But the point is, like, I have options because of my degree. I'm able to lean on different experiences and different courses that I've taken. In engineering management, for example, being a broad field, it's really, really good. But if you ever wanted to pivot, you have to ask yourself, how long am I committed to this degree, and how much am I going to get out of it until I want to pivot? If you're just trying to go into a career for a few years and then pivot, I don't think it's worth it getting a whole degree in order to do so, especially if the field you're pivoting to has nothing to do with it. Now, of course, if it's very close to it, good, go ahead and get that degree. It's not just one job that you can do with one degree. With electrical engineering, for example, you can go into computer science, computer engineering, software engineering, electrical engineering, electromagnetics engineering, systems engineering. There's so many things that you can pivot to and have a niche in. That's just something that you really do want to consider when you're choosing a career field, a degree, and whether to go to college or not. And the next part of that is a college degree worth it to you? At the end of the day, whether I think it's worth it, which I definitely think my college career is very much worth it. It's opened so many doors and so many opportunities for me. I'm glad I got it. I'm looking directly at like my degree certificate right now, and I'm so proud of it. So I definitely thought it was very much worth it for me and my career, my life. Now, is it worth it for you? You may think so, you may not think so. At the end of the day, if it's worth it for you to get it, you do that. If you don't think it's worth it, then don't. Don't get peer pressured into it or not into it, because people are saying, you need this degree. You may not. If your career field, like I said, all the questions that we've asked, if all of that's like saying, no, you don't need a degree, no, you don't need a degree, then you might not need it, even if you're getting pressured into it. Versus if it is something you need for your career, yeah, then it should be worth it to you because you need it for that career. And definitely don't let people saying college degrees are useless, worthless, don't get any type of ROI on it to affect what you do with your life and your career. Engineering, a degree is very much worth it. Don't let people lie to you and deceive you in that aspect. You know, what's your passion? That goes into it. If it's your passion and it's something that you want to do and you want to be the best person in it and get educated in it, have the knowledge in it, you go for it. And one of the reasons why I went back to school is because I definitely love the engineering field and I see myself staying in there for a very long time. And so whatever I can do to better myself educationally, in my knowledge, in my skills, I would definitely be doing it. I find value in it and value in doing so rather than not doing it. Why wouldn't I want to better myself as an engineer? Why wouldn't I want to learn as much as possible in order to contribute and add value in the field of engineering? And is that something that you want to do in whatever career field that you choose? And so these are questions that are personal, that you have to answer them for yourself. If you come to the conclusion that it is worth it for you to get a college degree, do so. And if you think, okay, you know what, I don't think it's for me, then don't. And that's it. Stand firm in your decision. And so with that, bringing this video to an end, thank you all so much. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And let me know in the comment section, is a college degree worth it to you? Why or why not? And I'll read your comments and we can discuss below. So definitely again, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring notification bell because I post 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Thank you all so much for watching this video. See you next one. Bye.